Hi, everybody. My name is Jenna Overbaugh. I'm a therapist here at NoCD, and alongside Tia Wilson, who runs our community support groups here, we are going to do a workshop for the NoCD community, for actually all of the OCD community, on taboo, scary, and shameful thoughts to finish out the rest of OCD Awareness Month. This workshop would have taken place on October 20th at 3 p.m. Central, but we know that not everybody was able to make it. So as a way to continue to make sure these resources are accessible to everybody. We always feel really strongly about making the worksheet readily available for people and also a video to kind of coincide, let you know what it is that we talked about and how you can practice this worksheet on your own. So let's talk about first some examples of taboo thoughts, right? We thought that this was really important to focus on for the remainder of OCD Awareness Month, because we know that so many people out there do, in fact, struggle with taboo thoughts, with shame associated with their thoughts. There are lots of subtypes out there that are, I think, getting talked more about, but still need some more work. And we want to make sure that those individuals struggling with those themes know that they're not alone, and that there's always a safe place to go, a non judgmental space, and that is our NoCD community. So, some examples of taboo, scary, or shameful thoughts that people with and without OCD experience, right? Because it's also very important to acknowledge and underscore that people with OCD aren't the only ones who have these thoughts. People who don't have OCD also have these thoughts. It's just that the OCD experience can make things stick a little bit more. There are rituals and distress and impairment involved, but people who don't have OCD still experience these thoughts from time to time. So, some harm obsessions may include thoughts of accidentally or purposefully harming someone or something, like our pets, intrusive images of loved ones being killed, wishing someone would die or get hurt, or accidentally or purposefully harming yourself. We see that a lot with self harm or suicidal OCD. There are also some taboo sexual obsessions that are experienced pretty commonly within the OCD community, but not often talked about. So, pedophilic themes, ego dystonic and unwanted thoughts about touching children or being attracted to children, bestiality, incest, thoughts of sexual body parts in general, images of other people having sex, sexual thoughts in platonic relationships. And even if you don't see your very precise, taboo experience listed here, it doesn't mean that it's not valid. These are just some examples. But again, these thoughts are ego dystonic, meaning they go against our moral code, kind of who we are and who we believe to be our real true selves. And that's why it's so distressing. So, alongside these obsessions, you'll see this on the next pages, they make us feel awful about ourselves, right? We feel like we're alone. We feel like there's something wrong with us. And so, in this worksheet, we're asking that you really dive deep here and list out some words or labels that come to mind when you think of your OCD thoughts. Some examples here might be disgusting or horrible or awful or disgusting. Then we challenge you to go deeper and ask yourself, how has your OCD themes, or how have your OCD themes or thoughts made you think of yourself? How have you judged yourself? Maybe that there's something wrong with you, maybe that you're an outcast, maybe that you would never be able to talk about these things with other people. And then we ask you to write down, how does it feel to write that down? Probably doesn't feel too good. Doesn't feel good to get hooked into that, pessimistic narrative about judging ourselves, so on and so forth. But yet we still feel so hooked into that. We feel like it's very difficult to step away from that and diffuse from that. Then we ask you to think of someone you know who suffers similarly to you. So maybe it's other people in the NoCD community. Maybe it's someone you have seen in a support group. Maybe it's just someone else who you know who struggles with OCD in general. So, who are they and how do you know them? If you could say anything to that person, what would it be? What would it feel like to say those things? What tone of voice would you use? Especially if they were reaching out to you and telling you about their shameful thoughts and their taboo experiences. What would you say? What would you do? What would you not do? And maybe even address them by name. And then finally, we ask you, have you ever talked to yourself that way when you're in the trenches? Typically, what we're probably going to see here is that you are being really mean to yourself. You are being really judgmental and harsh to yourself. But when it comes to other people, even people who are very similar to you or who have very similar thought processes and the same type of OCD, perhaps, we tend to give them a lot of grace. We tend to give them a lot of patience and leniency and non judgment. And that's just another really honestly a lie, right? Like a lie and kind of a trick that OCD plays on us, that other people are worthy of that kind of compassion, but there's something awful about me. I don't deserve that. So, what we would encourage people to do, what we would encourage you to do, is to gradually start to incorporate this tone of voice and these kinds of words to your own self. So, we want you to even maybe go back and try to substitute your own name in those sentences and go from there. And again, this is kind of leading up to this concept of self compassion, right? We really want people to lean into that self compassion a little bit more and recognize as consistently as possible, that, I'm not being really nice to myself right now. This is kind of my baseline. Maybe it feels normal for me to be mean to myself, but I would encourage my members here at NoCD to question, how is that helpful? Research shows that self compassion kind of bolsters recovery gains. It makes us adhere to treatment a lot better. I always tell my members at NoCD, if I'm running a half marathon and I'm just beating myself up every time someone passes me, or I'm judging myself for my running gait, or, I'm just feeling awful and beating myself up the whole entire time, I'm probably never going to sign up for another half marathon again because I've just made that a really horrific experience. I'm not going to want to do that again. And, with OCD recovery, we're in it for the long haul. And, we have to kind of be our own best cheerleaders at this point. So, anything that we can do to do that, something that has really helped me personally, and I know helps a lot of my members, is to just remind ourselves, how would I talk to a friend? How would I talk to somebody else who's going through this? I need to eventually be able to talk to myself that way too. And talk to yourself that way. Use the same tone, use the same kind of gestures, use the same words that you would use with a friend. It's not going to feel genuine at first because it's different and it's new. It's not like just doing this one time is going to be a miraculous change and everything is going to be better. But the more that you do it, the more genuine it will feel, the more automatically that will come. So we hope that all of you throughout working, whether it's with the workshop, the information that you learned on the worksheet, or having done the worksheet and worked through it, that you find it to be helpful. We hope that throughout OCD Awareness Month, you've recognized, in fact, that you are not alone and that you are not your thoughts, and that you always have a safe, non judgmental community to come back to here with us at OCD.